Hi guys, welcome to Sree Trading Buddies. This is your weekly forecast for the markets opening tonight. Remember, this is not financial advice and it's for educational purposes only. Typically, I do look into Nasdaq, ES, and gold. Of course, depending on where CL lies or silver lies, we would also try to look into those two assets there. So let's start by looking into Nasdaq on the daily level. Typically, I would like to see ES, but I would want to show Nasdaq first and give you a little bit of a commentary there on Nasdaq before moving to ES. On the daily level, you can see that for since last October down to this March, it's been in this range bound box clearly. Absolutely, you can box it, right? And now the market actually took liquidity here onto these levels, 23,04075, and the market went all the way back up to all-time highs. The interesting fact is the last few weeks, the last couple of weeks, which is like the last 13 to 14 days, it's been crazy. The market went all the way back up, inching, and it hit the all-time highs here. What do we have to do here? What is the game plan? Before looking into any game plan, you need to understand that when Trump announced the tariffs, then the market actually fell. You can see this in the month of April. You can clearly see that's the bottom, and it climbed all the way back up into the all-time highs, and then it started its range-bound activity. So what can we expect? Obviously, it's at 26,825. 27,000 is just right around the corner there, and for Nasdaq, it's nothing. 175 points is absolutely nothing for Nasdaq. So yes, it could reach there. Will it directly reach there? Will it go to 28,000? I think sky's the limit there, right? So there's nothing much that I can really say on where the market is actually heading, because that would be prediction and we are not here to predict. So market is at all-time highs. On the daily level, you can see that's a proper bullish candle there. Now, if the market has to go a little further up, then you could see typically what we could do is, let's say let's run a fib here. What's the 50% of this swing on the daily level is this, right? So 50% daily swing, right? Or you can call it actually weekly swing in a way, but I'm looking at it from a daily point of view. So, and this coincides with this particular fair value gap in here. And of course, there are a lot of inefficiencies. I don't want to really mark any inefficiencies in there. So there are a lot of inefficiencies in here. So this is at all-time highs. Do we see the market coming down? Obviously, at this level, we should not bet against the market now because the market is absolutely surging ahead. So there's no point in betting against the market now. So if it's going up, then it's going up. Now, when do we say that the market is actually going down? First, let it get down to the range. Once it gets inside the range, that's the first step. Then we see where we are landing. Let's look into the last week. So this is the last week's candle. And once you see this last week's candle, anything, if it goes down below the last week's candle, and that's sign one, but unless it gets down this level, I would not really say anything on the bearish side of things yet. So So this is the sell side on the weekly. All-time highs back up. Weekly candle, weekly candle, weekly candle. Of course, there's a lot of fair value gaps there. And so on the daily level, there is nothing that you can really say. Wait for the market to open. Depending on the market open, is that a new week opening gap? Then is it gap up or gap down? What's happening? Once we understand those things, then we could try and formulate a game plan. But for now, the market is bullish. I wouldn't necessarily go down to 4 hours because the daily is pretty much clear for me. And 4 hours, yes, it looks like there is something happening there on the 4 hours, but I wouldn't really bother to look into the 4 hours because I would want the market to really show what it's trying to do. Right? That's on Nasdaq, right? Now let's look into ES once. Okay, on the ES. Now this is the daily, so that's beautiful. Just a second. Let me pull up ES here. It's much better. There's a lot of activity going on there. Okay, so interesting, interesting, interesting. 3.5. Oof, that's cool. Anyway, don't look into these. It's not needed actually because these are all whole fib levels there. So what are we looking at on the daily level? Same. So a lot of activity there because we've been trading a lot, right? So you can see a lot of activity there. Same. Nasdaq mirrors the ES, or yeah, I would say, because most of the time Nasdaq follows the ES there. You can clearly see exactly the same price action. April started to go all the way back up. Now range bound activity did go to all-time highs a couple of times. Took liquidity, came back down, and again March did take liquidity there. Took all these daily fair value gas and inefficiencies, and then went all the way back up. So it's a pretty good market now. I wouldn't really say anything on betting against the market, but remember, there is only one thing that I would really want to emphasize on. That is, if the market has to go up, then it'll go down, take liquidity, and then go up. That's the basic principle, right? So where it's trying to go up, uh, not sure, absolutely. But the only thing that you can do is this is the range. This is your 50%, 50% of daily range there, okay? And these are your 62, 71s, nice outer block formation there, and then there's the 62 levels on the fibs. So you got something there similar to Nasdaq, okay? On the weekly, you can see not much happening there. After this level, then there's not much happening in here. So there's pretty little to really look into, okay? Whether wealth was made during these few days or not is a different story, but I'm sure a lot of people would have lost a lot, especially given that how the markets actually um, zoom through, I would say. I don't think it's an easy thing really, because every day you're having some kind of a price action there, lots of geopolitical news, uncertainty, and so with all this, you can see that its market just lit up. So if that's the case, now the market would go through some kind of a correction there. So that is the case, then we will be looking into a different side of story there, right? So not much to look into. If this is any indication that the market really wants to go up, yes, but I'm hearing different news there that Strait of Hormuz is closed, open, closed, open. By the time the market opens, I don't know what's going to happen, whether the ships are being allowed or not. So there's a lot happening there, and we need to be very careful with what's happening. Now, let's look into gold, because depending on what is going to happen, then gold is the most probable candidate there, which could give us some kind of a, oh God, here we go. So on gold, what's happening on gold? So on the daily level, okay, let's only look into, yes, there's a lot happening here. Don't look into it much because I'm actually trading gold. So of course the charts would be messy because I do write on the charts. I need to understand what's happening. Is there a sell side, buy side, too much of a wick? Where is the drawn liquidity? Whatever, right? So these are the all-time highs there, and that's especially during um, the ending of Jan. And then you can see the market just jumping around, coming down, taking liquidity, and slowly pushing its way through. And this, of course, is the way that the gold generally works. This is not the way that gold generally goes. This is crazy. And I don't think we need any craziness in here. We just need the normal gold going up. Now, it's at 4,900. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, obviously you know that 5,000 is just around the corner and all-time highs too. So it's a bit crazy if you look into what's happening and what is going to happen depending on how the market opens. So if there's a gap up on gold, gap down on Nasdaq, it's like God knows what's happening, and we'll understand in a few more hours, really. So on the weekly basis, okay. So let me hide some of these because I know it's a little crazy, but I need to really do my forecast, and every week I do it diligently, and every day I do it diligently because without knowing any of these, I don't really jump into the markets there. So what's happening on the weekly basis? So the last 4 weeks, yes, it's been wiki, but it did go up. So it's a nice climb up there into this fair value gap. So that's good. Now most of the fair value gap is covered, but there are inefficiency levels in here. And you can see there are a lot of things that we marked out, and then the huge wick there which covered. So there's a lot of inefficiencies there. Then it goes back up into these levels and the data high there, that would be all-time highs. So there's a lot for gold to really catch up on a weekly basis. But remember, depending on how it opens and if it really gaps up because Strait of Hormuz is closed or any other geopolitical events, then you can see that 5,100 is just around the corner, really. And then all the way back up to 5.4s and 5.6s and all-time highs. So it's a very tricky situation. There is nothing to really target for now. On the daily, you can clearly see that market did ensure that it covered all the inefficiencies in here, covered the inefficiencies here, and then started to go all the way back up. Yes, it has room to go back up, and we've been eyeing these levels since some time, but unfortunately or fortunately, the market actually dumped down, took liquidity in here, and then went back up. So I'm waiting for the market to at least reach this 5,050 level and then go a bit further. So we need to wait for the market to show what it wants to do. Once the market opens, I'll do a quick either a live session or a quick recap there. But that's GC for you. It's a lot happening, and it's for me, it's still bullish. I don't really see anything crazy there. Now let's look into CL. Remember CL, if you see here, it fell down 12%, almost 13 really. So there's a lot happening here on CL. It went to all-time highs here, and courtesy the Iran war there, and then it went all the way back up and back down into these levels. So it's going crazy. Crude oil is definitely up there. And if the market actually, Strait of Hormuz is open, then obviously the market will tank down further. But given the conditions that we're hearing now, it doesn't look like, and market actually might go back into these inefficiency levels, and we could see some crazy price action. So that's about CL2. We're not really looking much into CL anymore now. We need to wait for the market to open. Is it a new week opening gap for CL, for gold, and for Nasdaq? Let's see. Thank you.